Hey guys, it's 2020, which means your dating life probably sucks because it's coronavirus season. But some of you are probably still going on dates. So today I'm going to go all through Bumble as a dating app and everything that you need to know. I'm going to talk about whether Bumble will get you more dates versus Hinge. I'm going to give you tips and tricks on how to avoid bad dates with men on Bumble. And I'm going to give you some online dating app profile tips for you men out there to get more swipes on women. So subscribe please to be aware of new videos, and let's get rocking and rolling. So here on my computer screen is dating bachelor number 1, Jake. 32. So here's the thing, ladies. Eventually, if you swipe, you will see every single guy out there, including your friends and ones that you know and don't like. So Jake happens to be a guy that I know from MBA school who happens to be an absolute jerk. Yeah, he's a jerk. He works in finance and would get drunk at company functions and almost got kicked out of school. But Jake's profile is actually really good. He's an attractive guy. So how can you avoid a bad date with him? Well, here's a tip number 1, ladies. Jake has no profile description and it doesn't say what he's looking for. So here's how you weed out guys. Tip number 1. Make sure that they have a profile description. If a guy was too lazy to fill out his basic likes and interests, he's probably not really interested in dating you. He just wants to come over and get laid. So swipe him away. Left. Also, Jake doesn't say what he's looking for. If a guy doesn't specify that he's looking for in a relationship or dating, guess what? He's probably looking for something casual, which means you probably don't want to go on a date with him unless you just want to get laid, which is cool, but I'm talking about serious dating here. So those are 2 flags. So Jake actually has really good pictures. No feedback on that as a warning sign or a red flag. I will say, as a tip for you guys on Bumble, some tips that Jake does really well. He has a picture of him in a suit with a bow tie, which women like. You like a guy that's dressed up. Jake has a picture of him with his family at a wedding, which is sweet. Shows that he's family oriented. It shows a picture of him cropped with another girl, which is bad. Don't do that. And it has some other pictures of him from the chest up and his full body. So you know he's a good looking fit guy. So I'm going to swipe left on him because I don't want to match with Jake. But that's some insight into one man's profile. Let's move on. Here's another guy. Really no red flags about him. So here's a tip for you ladies when you are swiping on Bumble. Look at a guy's body language and his smile. It tells you a lot, like a lot. So this guy has a nice smile. You can tell that he's just a genuine dude. His poses are normal. He's on a boat with one. He's with his dog in another. He's with his friend at a beach on another. Like, you can tell he's just a general nice dude. So, good looking guy. Those are some basic tips. Here's actually an example of a good profile for you guys out there. So this guy, we're just gonna say his name is Sean. What he did that's really good in his Bumble dating app profile is he gave his name. He says what he does for a living. He says he loves the water, the beach, pools, lake, etc., traveling and visiting new places, love new foods and restaurants. Kind of generic, but hey, it sounds friendly. This guy says he's looking for something casual though. So girls, if you want a relationship, swipe left. Don't try to convince a guy or be hopeful that he'll want more. Swipe left to avoid those bad dates. So to summarize what we've talked about so far, to guarantee good Bumble dates only as a female, make sure the guy says he's looking for a relationship or dating. If he says he's looking for casual or there's nothing mentioned, swipe left. Date number 2 tip when you are swiping on Bumble. Make sure the guy has details in his profile. If he doesn't, he's too lazy to fill it out and spend 5 minutes. Guess what? He's gonna be too lazy to plan a date. And tip number 3 is look at his body language and his smile. You can read a lot by somebody's facial expressions. And then tips for you guys on Bumble. Pictures of you dressed up nicely in a suit are always good. Having a picture with at least one friend, ideally one that is not more attractive than you, shows that you are sociable. Don't have pictures of you cropped off with another woman, and make sure you have a variety. We want to see you from the waist up, and we want to see a full body picture, but not of you in the mirror or you at the gym. None of those selfies. They are so unclassy. All right, so then moving on. Ladies, how do I always make sure I only have good dates? Here's a tip. Feel the guy out in conversation. When a guy texts you, start with a generic question. Hey, how's your day going? Hey, what do you do on a typical Saturday? What are your favorite places to travel to? It doesn't matter what the question is. The point is how he responds back to you in that first response. If you get something along the lines of, hey, sexy, or hey, beautiful, guess what? This guy's probably not looking for a relationship. A guy that comes across as too strong, calling you sexy when he hasn't even met you, is a red flag on Bumble. If you meet men like that, continue the conversation, but proceed with caution. He's probably not date worthy. And then tip number 5, this is the way that I really make sure that I don't ever have a bad date. And most of you ladies, I know you're probably not gonna follow this piece of advice, but it is so helpful. When you give a guy your number and he texts you, if he asks you something like, how's your day going? This is what you do. You text him, hey, it's going great. I'm wrapping up work, I'm finishing dinner, whatever it is. Let me call you back in 5 or 10 minutes. And then pick up the phone and call him. Yes, I know most of you hate talking on the phone, but think of it this way. If you talk to a guy and you can't talk to him for 5 minutes because he's so boring and awkward, guess what? The date's probably gonna suck. So this is what you do. You just talk to the guy for 5 minutes or even 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to force him to ask you on a date over the phone or get to know you and hint at a future date. And just to kind of read his tone of voice. Is he energetic or is he really slow talking on the phone? Are you having to kind of like lead the conversation completely, or is there some back and forth? Or are you like, oh my gosh, this conversation is so painful, I can't wait to get off the phone? So do it. Hop on the phone. This is my new technique, especially during coronavirus. When you are on dating apps, it's a risk to go on a date, right? So you only want to go on dates if it's truly worth it to you. And the way you can figure that out is by talking to guys on the phone. It's my secret. All right, so we did that. Oh, one more tip, and please don't hate me, guys. But you probably know that us women do it. Stalk the guy. You're probably gonna get his first name, where he works, and where he lives, right? On dating apps like Hinge, which is one reason Hinge is better than Bumble, Hinge will give you the first and the last name sometimes, is look up the guy on LinkedIn, look at him on Facebook, look at him on Instagram. You'll find out very, very quickly whether his pictures are 5 years old, or you'll find out from LinkedIn whether a guy says he's a director at a company when he's really just a manager. Or you'll find out from pictures that the guy really likes to party a lot and probably does drugs. So I'm telling you, guys might only show their best profile pictures on dating apps like Bumble, but if you get access to view what he shares with the public on Facebook or Instagram, you will be amazed by what you find. I had a friend that met this guy and he seemed great in person, but on Instagram, he said things that were very derogatory towards women. So guess what? He was a jerk. So go ahead and look up men. Hey, you have the internet, Google exists, it's wonderful. You can learn a lot. All right, so then this wraps up our video. We went over some tips, how to weed out men on Bumble, how to only have great dates. So then that leads us to my final tip, which is, oh shoot, what was it? I'll tell you. It's whether Bumble or Hinge is better. I'll tell you what, I think both dating apps are really, really good, honestly. Basically, if a person's on one dating app, they're probably on the other dating app. My opinion of between the two apps goes back and forth. At one point in time, I counted which app got me more dates. It was actually Bumble, but I think it kind of depends. Bumble used to have the ability for you to select criteria on it, like does a guy want to have kids or not? Well, guess what? You can no longer filter that out, but it's still available once you match with a guy. Hinge shows you that information too. Really, pretty much they're the same app. I would download both apps if you are serious and looking for a relationship. You'll notice that a lot of guys are on both apps, and both apps show you slightly different things, but they both will show you things like, does the person do drugs? What are they looking for? Do they have kids? Do they want kids? Etc., etc. So honestly, Bumble or Hinge, they're both great dating apps. Download both of them. Then there's other things like OkCupid. I personally love it. Unfortunately, nobody's on OkCupid anymore. Same with Match.com and eHarmony. People will tell you, oh, I met my boyfriend, my husband on eHarmony, on Match, etc., on Tinder. But ask them, when did that happen? Yes, those were great ways to meet men 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. But in 2020, it's basically Hinge and Bumble if you want to date. So then to wrap up, here's the question for you guys. Why is Christina wearing a tank top? Usually I dress up for these videos, right? I'm on YouTube, I wanna be looking good. It's because I'm gonna go play tennis. And it's going to be because I'm gonna play tennis with a guy that I actually met on Bumble. Granted, we're not dating and neither of us want to date each other. Well, I hope he doesn't want to date me. But we both really like playing tennis with each other, and we happen to hit tennis balls weekly and are really good friends, and we have a tennis match together tonight against another team. So I will say, if worse comes to worse, hey, you can always meet good friends on dating apps like Bumble and Hinge. I'd love to hear from you. Write a comment below. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree with what I said. That's completely fine. I know that dating can be very, what's the word? People disagree on things a lot, and that's completely okay. We all have our own style and techniques that work for us. But send me a comment below. Please subscribe and give me a thumbs up like. Thanks, guys.